Introducing one of the best minds in Call of Duty, the greatest mini putter in Call of Duty, the co-host of The Flank, the one, the only, Ben J. Nassim.
What's good? What's good?
How you doing, bro?
Best mini putter. I like that. I like that. Pat seems to think, AC seems to think that he's better than me at putting. So, like, at some point this season, we're going to do probably like a mini golf challenge. I may lose because there's this RNG in mini golf.
Right.
But I like to think that I'm solid at putting.
That needs to be some content, bro. We need to all see you guys on the course trying to get it all down and see who actually wins.
Well, we tried last year. Just like it's so tough to schedule when we go to events because like we can't really do it after match days because we're all just dead.
Yeah.
And I would need to do it like before or like after the event. And Pat's got to like fly in later in the week and out. So we're gonna try and make it work this year and like do it and see how it goes.
I see you, man. I mean, bro, like, what is it? I think honestly, also too, shout out FaZe Clan. We're in the FaZe warehouse recording. I know it's a different setup than usual, so shout out to them for allowing me to come in and record. So thank you to FaZe. But bro, how's it been with the off season? What's it like? What have you been doing? What you been up to?
I mean, the off season's been kind of interesting. Like, I took some time off after champs. Like, I did the whole run of like roster mania stuff. Then when it slowed down, like I went to South Carolina, took some time off just from streaming, just to kind of like get me right, and then. Mostly recently, it's been like sports game grind. Like I've been playing a lot of FIFA, Madden. I think NHL comes out this week. Obviously, got the beta coming up. Like it's the content starting to ramp back up, but it was like pretty slow. And also on my end too is just like trying to do planning around. You know, what do we want the Flank live tour to look like next season? You know, other Flank stuff we want to do and planning in the background. Like just sort of like using this time to regroup and rethink and like execute some of the ideas, but start planning for like. New stuff I want to do in like the end of the year, beginning of next year, etc.
I mean, bro, you were in a little bit of a drama this offseason, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you already know what I'm talking about. Like, it was a little situation between you and Tom in the Flank. What happened? Like, from your perspective, what happened?
I mean, I think so. The what happened was like I was doing like a Halo stream, Halo watch party, and I was just bored. And I think I made a mistake. I'll say, like, in talking about it publicly, like, I don't think I should have done that. I think I should have gone, you know, it was a result of long-tail conversations that I felt had gone nowhere, and I probably should have kept pursuing that path. I think my frustration, I think, like, me and Tom are in a really good level right now about how we want to handle it, is just how do we work on these sort of key goals next season for the Flank? How do we make our production values and our presentation like just better, more professional? I'm not saying the show needs to be more professional. Like we want to keep the same. This is number two. Keep the same level of like it feels like you're in a Discord call. We got all these pros. Like I want just the polish to be a little bit better. And I think for me, just sort of expanding like our revenue path, like doing a better job bringing in sponsors and partners. We're talking to a bunch of people now, and I think we're making a good progress there. Fans have been asking for a long time, like why do you guys not do merch? Why do you not do more merch at events? Working on trying to get that going. So. I don't think I should have talked about it publicly. That was probably a stupid idea. And I apologize to Tommy afterwards. But what's nice is I think we're at a good level now on how I want to go forward. And I think we made a lot of progress since then the last few weeks.
So we can expect some new ideas, probably maybe I would assume some new segments and stuff on the Flank this year?
Well, so as far as new ideas, yes. There's a couple of things we're going to do differently. Ideally, if I'm able to execute them, both for our online shows, like when we're covering just random match days, as well as, you know, when we go to live events. I don't want to talk about stuff with like those ideas on here because Tommy gets mad anytime I talk about ideas on stream. He's like, really, save that. We don't want, you know what I mean? I'll do steal it. But I do think that, I think for us, it's about also like continuing some of the stuff we were doing last year. How do we better utilize all the talent on the show? How do we handle sort of the minutia and sort of like the middle of the season when it's really boring? Like, how do we keep people tuning in, keep it spicy? Are things I'm thinking about now, not like in the moment. I'm thinking about them now so we can plan ahead and be ready to go with how we want to execute when we get to those points in like, you know, April or May or whatever.
Right. You guys had like 2 years where it was pretty much you guys were the only source of like COD review and news, you know, like kind of analysis, right? Besides the desk, but that's like nothing separated. And then now you have the breakdown, you have the Flank, you have a few other ones popping up on YouTube as well. How do you feel about the competition now?
Well, it's interesting. Like prior to our podcast, so you go back to CWL days, like MLG put out a lot of really good what they call in the business like shoulder content, like pre-produced content.
Yeah.
Like and I think that's the predecessor to some of the stuff we were doing. Like Hot Mic is sort of inspiration as well. And then we were sort of the only game in town. I know like people did YouTube stuff like Tack Rab, shout out him.
Yeah.
Does his thing. But as far as like, COD related shows, it's community shows. Merc and Maven have their thing. Obviously the OpTic guys have their thing. I think, as much as people want them to be competition, and yes, we're all sort of covering the same news and ideas, I think our show is different. Like I don't think we want to ever get in the business of making a like very segmented, structured podcast. There's this weird community sentiment that like that's what I'm trying to do, and like I'm not. Like to me, the best advice that I ever got was actually from someone on OpTic. It was from Hector, and Hector's advice is just like just keep it with that sort of Discord TeamSpeak feel. Like that's the best like resource we have, and I don't think we're ever gonna stray from it. Like there are times where we're gonna go off the rails on the show. There are times where we're going to talk smack about someone, and then they're in Twitch chat, and they're like, get me in the call.
Yeah,
like we've done that with Doug this year. Like we've done that with Scrap this year. Like I want that sort of spontaneity to always be like a core piece of what we're doing in the show. So it's good to see that people are creating content. It's good to see that like, shout out Seth and Zin, like they're doing their own thing, like creating a show. I think like more people propagating storylines and discourse around Call of Duty, like that content space is always very good. And how we navigate in that place. I'm always excited to sort of, accomplish that and do what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, going back a little bit too to like the two sides of the break down the flank and even your little drama that happened. Do you ever like feel a little? I don't know. The narratives that happen in Call of Duty, they happen all the time. Do you ever feel like a little bit like fully attacked? Do you feel like you ever want to respond to it and kind of fight back? 'Cause I'm getting flamed in the Reddit. I'm getting attacked hella bad right now.
Hold on. Let's talk about your situation. Because listen, first off, I'm like an OG Redditor, bro. Like I want to back up. Like I used to go on this website called Dig back in the day. Were you around when Dig was a thing? Okay, like
back you and Jesus himself were back when scrolling on Dig.
This is like 2007.
Jesus.
I was in like high school, 2007. Before Reddit, there was this website called Dig. It was basically like the front page of Reddit. Before Reddit. So they didn't really have the subreddit thing like figured out, like the mini community element that Reddit does really well, like figured out. You just had like this front page and some customization you can do. They had a podcast. Ignation was like a really big podcast back in the day. And then they like had some raises and some ownership changes that kind of killed the site. And then Reddit came in, and Reddit's like, it's like kind of like Dig, but you've got these sort of sub communities. And I think that's why Reddit's really blown up, because it's not just about the default subreddit, it's about whatever you go to and what your interests are.
Right.
I think the problem that you have in the community with Reddit, and I think is unfair, is one is obviously you got in some like mini beef with things that you said. And, like,
yes, some stuff I said on the Reddit. Didn't understand how trolly it was actually.
And second is like there are unfortunate people on that subreddit that like will never disconnect you from Lamar, which I think is kind of unfair. Like for me on the Reddit, like I just don't understand the hate for you, because it's like you're trying to create content. I feel like some people on there think that you're just using them for ideas, but like I feel like I look at it the other way. It's like, well, shouldn't you be looking for the community to guide what they want to watch in the show? Like, so I just think the hate you get on there is kind of whack, and I don't know if it's just like salty OpTic fans or like people that just hate your brother, but like I hope it like improves, because I know you're continuing to do the show more. And
yeah. I mean, bro,
I'll back you up.
In the vault, there's like 6 episodes right now. This is the 7th one now, like just sitting there, ready to go. So I'm gonna keep going, gonna keep pushing through it. But it's just it wasn't expected during this journey that was gonna happen. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, all good.
Give me some words of advice too, even off camera as well. Going into it, bro. I'm actually like. My first interaction with you, like hearing about you, was back in the Columbus apartment days of CWL, when Lamar came back and was telling me like, yeah, there's Ben and Ian and these guys, like, and then that's who's Ben, and I got informed, right? But like, where do you? I feel like a lot of new fans don't know how you got your start in Call of Duty. You've been since 2007. You said like talking about gaming and really interested in this space. So like, where do you originate from in the Call of Duty space?
So. I've told this story a couple times.
All right.
So obviously I used to play Call of Duty all the time. I really started playing Call of Duty actually with a group of people I met from like the Rooster Teeth community. They're like Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
Like I was in the machinima community before I was in competitive COD. So like growing up, I was playing COD with like my friend Ray. People always get like, it's always hilarious to me that people are like, how do you know all these Rooster Teeth people? It's like, because I used to play Call of Duty with them, like, Halo. Like, but so I started with that, and then I got into COD Comp. When I moved to Austin, this is like probably 2013, one of my friends, Steven, was just like, yo, there's this like world championship going on for Black Ops 2, like it's been lit, like you should watch. This guy Nate Shot, like he's SD Wizard. So I watched and I was excited because like I was into esports. Like I watched MLG stuff back in the day with Halo, like back when the Octashape plugin. These were before YouTube, before Twitch. Like,
Man, throwing throwbacks out here, bro.
Streams are crazy. Like USA Network show. So I was watching COD Comp. I was excited. I didn't really watch regularly until like probably Ghosts.
Okay.
Because I went to X Games Austin and Ghosts, and like that was like the first event I had gone to.
The first in-person one.
Yeah.
Oh, that really sparked it in you, I'm sure.
Stupid tent in the heat at the race, and I was there in the tent when Proof got that 3-piece, or actually it was the Ace kind of 3-piece kill that he got on Sovereign. I was like, all right, now we're in the mix. I actually went to the after party, like met a bunch of people there. So I was like, I bet. So I started really following the scene then. And then sort of at the tail end of Ghosts, you know, I was watching Clay a lot just on MLG.TV. It just kind of, I don't know, kind of happened. And so like once he got dropped from OpTic, started streaming a bit more. I just kind of like hang in his chat, started like befriending people. He eventually made me a mod in his chat. At the same time, you know, I was just sort of in my free time, just like, you know, I want to like do something in the scene. There was an old account. It used to be called like COD Intel. I don't know what it was called before OpTic Intel. Do you remember?
No. To be honest,
there
no.
was basically this like news Twitter account, and then I think Hector bought it or bought a piece of the ownership. And they rebranded it as like OpTic Intel. And then when they tweet out like, "Yo, we're looking for like volunteers, help," so I tweeted out, like I responded. My friend Alex, who was actually local, I had no idea at the time, was actually also volunteering for them.
Yeah.
So she hit me up. She's like, "WTF? Like, why do you come to me?" I'm like, I had no idea you were doing this shit.
Right.
So her and I basically ran a social account for OpTic Intel for about a year.
Okay.
It was a good group of people. Like
Just volunteering on your free time,
that's
right?
where I met like Aaron. That's where I met like Davis for the first time. Osbo, like my friend DJ. Like there were a bunch of people that I'm still friends with now that I met at OpTic Intel.
Right.
So combo that and the Clay mod stuff. Like throughout AW, I was either like hanging out on Clay chat all the time, or I was just like, can I just like, you know, just like going to events for OpTic Intel, just like covering stuff. Sorry, Gersh is distracting me, texting me while I'm doing
it's
a
all
podcast.
good. Shout out Gersh, man. Gersh made this
Ask
happen.
me to like
so shout
crow
out Gersh.
retweet stuff while I'm on a podcast. So we'll get to it later. Okay, and so I go to AW Champs, met Clay's family for the first time. Great people. Have you ever met Clay's mom and brothers?
Have I ever met? I don't think I've met his family. No, I've met his girlfriend, but I've never met his family.
But like they're great people. So I really got like became friends with them that year. OpTic Intel started to kind of like die once Davis joined OpTic because he had to start working on Vision and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
And like I just kind of saw the tea leaves that it was sort of kind of like that it was going to kind of go in that direction. So I was like trying to pivot to something. There's actually an email. I could find it.
It's like your infamous email.
No, so I emailed Hector. Hold on, let me see if we can find this email. I basically decided, you know what? Because like I had met Hector a couple times, going to like back in the day, if you went to like a UMG Dallas, there were like 200 people there, so you can just talk to anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, even now you could kind of talk to anyone, but like it's not as easy as it was back in the day.
Yeah, now it's like arena shows, but back then it was like, you know,
Bro,
that stuff.
The comparison is like if you went to an MLB game. This is the OG from 2016. If you went to MLB game and you saw like the people you just watched just walking through the stadium, you could just walk up to them and say, "What's up?" Like you just saw them compete, and you just
back in the day, like there was a lot of like standing around, so you could just talk to whatever pro you wanted. Now it's like arena shows and people go to the warm room, so it's not like that. So I'm showing Ace. So I like at some point in the summer of 2016, I like email Hector. I'm like, "Yo, I'll run the Twitter account." What did I say? I was running for? It's in the
Bro, he wrote 2 words. You wrote a goddamn essay back to him.
Yeah, I wrote him a. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, listen, a lot like
You got to show the passion, bro. It's about the passion.
I think I said I would run it for like $1,000 a month or something. And
that's probably a lot back in the day, to be honest.
Hector declined. So after AW, ends, I started having conversations with Enable and Clay about coming on, and because they needed someone like, they didn't want a coach, they wanted like an analyst, and that's when Bandit Protect started being a thing.
Right.
Take notes on practice because, Clay and Ian are passionate. They like forget if they said certain things in scrims to like just kind of keeping them on the ball. So they were like, yo, come out to Dotino's Invitational. So I went to that event in Columbus. From there, I started doing for like 2 or 3 months on the side, like analyst work for them.
Yeah.
That stopped after UMG South Carolina because the new ownership group at the time for FaZe is like, I don't know if you ever met like Sebastian.
Yeah.
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 So when Sebastian come in, he decided to go in a different direction, and like Tommy and Ricky's involvement had kind of changed. So that was like a short-term thing, but there's like a 5-month gap because once that team fell apart.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I hang out with them all the time because they then moved to Austin. They live 10 minutes from me. It was just Ian left at that point. It was like Ian, Tommy, Dylan, and Pierce. They were like, Ian's like, yo, like, because Chris had gone to go play for Echo Fox.
Right.
He's like, we don't have a coach anymore. Like, we'd love to have you come on. So I started that conversation. I basically signed a contract at like the beginning of World War II. That's where I met Eric Anderson for the first time. And then from there, I started working for FaZe. So like, that's the journey.
That
how
literally
like,
from Twitch,
Twitch
just
mod
a fan to Twitch mod,
managing the team,
to analyst to coach to managing.
So I did that.
Damn.
At the end of my like FaZe tenure, by like the middle of 2019, I was running the Call of Duty team, the FIFA team, and Fortnite. And Fortnite was kind of crazy because there was just a lot of hands.
I'm sure.
Fortnite on the talent side.
And this is Fortnite at its peak too, so like it's probably insane.
Bro, when the roster was like 20 people,
yeah,
like,
it's probably
crazy.
just absolute insanity.
It was a lot of shit. So like, so that's how I like got in it, and took me with the appointments, the apartment piece. Like, yeah, I mean, back in World War II, like I used to go with them for the 2-week stints. Like I'd stay at the apartment, like drive them around, like I'd cook food at night.
Bro, they used to say like you were no bullshit like the team dad.
I was, bro.
You used to like tell them like cook for them, and then there was times where you like try to tell like what they couldn't do, go out or not. Bro, there's so many funny stories from that time that I don't know if we could tell here, but yeah, you were the team dad of everybody for them there.
Because I had to manage, like, I'll give you the one by one, right? Like, love Preston, but Preston was really young at that point. Like, yeah, he's still like, he had been in the C9 situation with Pat. He'd been in like a team situation that wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
This is the first real like championship team he'd been on. So trying to get him to like the building blocks of being like that and like organizing himself as an individual was key. So like, there's those challenges. Like Crowder had been a professional for a while, but Chris has got his own like things that I have to navigate as a manager. Like he's kind of like, we use the word fugazi a lot, like on the show, like he's fugazi in his own way. And obviously you guys know my relationship with Tommy. Like all the time I'm telling this kid like, yo, you can't be tweeting that. Like, God, delete that tweet. I probably had that conversation like 5 times with him or 2.
Speaking of Tommy too, like, so you have this journey of being involved in the competitive side. What leads you to, or what's the conversation and what leads you to actually becoming a co-host of The Flank? Where does that idea come from? Does it come from you? Does it come from Tommy? Who developed this out and where does it come from?
So after like my stint in managing, at that point I went to Esports Engine to go work like production, and I had a great time there. We can talk about it more kind of after this. Tom obviously continued competing under New York, and then, he hit me up one day in like January, I think. Emotional phone call, explained the situation with his hand. He's like, I got to retire. Like, I can't do this. So, we were chatting on like what's next, and like he was going to go full-time stream. He's obviously nervous. He's like, would you do, we'd always talked about doing content together. Like, it's funny I mentioned your email about Hector. You can look it up. There's a Hector tweet from like probably like 2018 of like, I would pay money to develop a show around Zuma and Ben. Because Tom and I had hung out so much during the World War II years, people always tell us all the time, like, you guys need to do content together. Like, you guys are hilarious.
They just watch you interact,
Banter
right?
is really funny. So Tom and I have always in the back of our mind, like, we should do a show together.
Yeah.
And it finally became an opportunity of like, yo, like we should do a show after matches. Like mutually, we both agreed we should do it. So we decided to execute it once he, retired. And then, we started having fun with it. We started like getting 500 viewers after matches. And then it kind of grew decently fast. Like
It was pretty exponential, to be honest.
it was pretty steady throughout the Cold War season.
You guys had a monopoly over COD content, essentially.
Yeah.
After those matches, there was no one else really doing anything like you guys were doing at all.
I think the biggest growth point for us was probably like the hotel room streams we did at Cold War Champs.
Oh, I remember those.
Like, I think
man.
that was like the first watch party we really did. And after
Guerrilla
that,
style. Seriously, guerrilla style.
We were like in a hotel room that New York had paid for, like no set dressing, just couches.
Literally couch like this, and just random people coming in the room, in and out.
Yeah, it was wild times in that hotel room. I got back and watched that watch party, and I'm like, bro, the production on this is terrible, like blah, blah, blah. But we had to start somewhere. And then like Vanguard year, I think it really, really blew up because during that off season, a lot of shit went down. And then, Tom had gotten bigger and bigger as a brand. And like, that's when we went from like getting like 5,000 views to like lives to like 15 to like the 20, 25 mark. And we started doing these watch parties. So like, it's definitely, I didn't predict it would get this big. Like to your point, like I knew that when we started it, that no one else was doing the content we were doing.
Yeah.
I knew that like pretty early on in the Cold War year, once we started doing it, that we were like very much at the front end of the discourse around any of the topics, the storylines we brought out. But I didn't think it would like blow up where like, we're like, we go live on Tom's channel post match and we're getting 20,000 people watching us live. And like, we're one of the biggest live esports podcasts on Twitch. If not the biggest. Yeah. So that was crazy. Like, shout out Tommy. Like, I think he did a lot of work to like get us there, and I think keep it like authentic.
Yeah.
And like that's where we started like discovering talent. We'd had regular guests on, like Zen used to come on all the time, Don used to come on all the time. Like we started getting Pat on, we started getting Chris on, and that's how we started developing like our roster and how you get to the situation we have now with the talent we have.
Yeah, how do you feel about the dynamic that you guys present? What does each person bring that makes it work so well?
I mean, for me, like I kind of come at it from like a very sort of non-player GM executive approach. Like I don't like to sweat the short term a lot, but like I will on the show. I feel like I have good instincts on when a team's gonna hit a valley and knock it out, and like love that the like out of the box like problem solving conversation. Like to be a little more data focused. I like to we'd like talk about meta on the show or like maps and strategies. Like I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead of like, yeah, this is the way that people are playing it now, but then people are just going to overload this lane, and then this is how it's actually going to end up playing in champs because people are going to do this.
It's like your time as an analyst and a coach before is like carrying over to now.
I'm trying to do 3 steps ahead.
Right.
Tom is, I think, very level-headed with his takes. He has a good sense of like when teams going to make changes and who's playing bad and who's playing worse, but like Tom's role in the show is to moderate and like kind of call people out. Like everybody else has got distinct personalities. Like Pat is very strong in his conviction, loves to be the villain.
Of course.
Loves to hate on OpTic. He brings over all his biases from when he was a player. Like
100%.
Like no like shame about it. Like he's like, it's there.
Yeah.
I like Chris's approach. Chris is very good at recognizing quickly how the game's going to play, the meta's going to play. I think Chris has a good eye for challengers talent. So we're very ahead of the conversation on like who's next up.
He like bounces more off you. You guys kind of have that connective bouncing off each other.
Yeah. And then we started having Sam on, and I feel like Sam brings a lot of what Chris and Pat actually bring. So like Sam's really good at recognizing like meta spawns, how teams should set up and how they should play.
Yeah.
But Sam is not afraid, and I think all of our talent is not afraid to call people out on when they're playing terrible. I think that's our biggest thing is like we don't sugarcoat things on the show. We don't baby people. We try to avoid any kind of like, like having favorites. Like if people are playing terrible, they're getting called out. Well, a good example is people love to like bring up the ASIM example. And like, yeah, we were gassing ASIM in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And he was playing well, but like we were on ASIM's case for pretty much the middle of the back end of this year when like London was playing terrible and he was up and down.
Even though he's a great friend of you guys,
Yeah.
of you yourself, Tommy himself. I know you guys are kind of softball into it, but the critique was a critique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I try to call it how it is, you know?
Yeah.
Like if people are playing terrible, like for a couple games in a row, we'll call it out. If someone's playing for bad in a series or two, like, you know, stuff happens. People have bad weekends.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. Form kind of moves in and out, but we try and not like, I don't care if I piss off like this player or that player. Like there are star players in the league that have like messaged me an essay after a show
Really?
of when I've talked. I don't want to name specific people because again, I don't want to talk about. If they were here sitting on the couch, I'm happy to
Yeah,
talk
it was
about it
face
with
to
them.
face for sure.
But like, I don't want to throw names out there, but there are people that like have hit me up after shows and been like, either like, hey, like, you know, like I appreciate you sticking out and saying that, like, and I don't agree with you, but here's like context you don't know, or like getting into me, like you don't get it, like blah blah. And then I like talk through with them, like,
Yeah.
here's my POV on it, and we get into like a good spot. Like I'm not going to be afraid. Like Scrap's a great example. Like I shit talk Scrap all the time. Like I think it's fair to
Why
criticize.
you hate the kid, man? Wait,
Listen, I think Scrap is talented, but I think it's fair to criticize that in big moments this year, like Toronto has as a team wilted. Like they wilted at Boston, and like they figured it out. Like they figured it out at Dallas.
yeah.
But like at champs this year, like they laid a massive goose on Sunday. Like that's obviously the back of their mind.
It's a young team, though. You know, you gotta give
Yeah.
it to them. They're a young team, and they had a composure a lot of the time. But when it came to the pressure moments, there was some cracking going on.
Yeah.
You got to admit to it. So
But I'll admit, like he's come in and like instantly, like listen, he came on our show like end of Vanguard and started talking like all this crap on people when he was gonna get called up. You knew he was gonna be next up.
Yeah.
And like he delivered on pretty much 99% of that.
what's your favorite moment of the show? By the way, like I feel like a big standout that a lot of people have is the blow up with what was it? Who was it? Krim and Pago?
The New York episode is probably
Yeah,
our-
the New York episode I feel like has the most views. I think like the second or first most views on the
there's
YouTube and
two
stuff
moments.
too.
There's the Envoy episode where I could tell the Envoy really wanted to like say some stuff about Huntsman, but he wasn't going there. So I was slowly like prodding him over the course of the episode to like get him to open up.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are easy for some, but not easy for others. Stress, anxiety, loneliness, feelings of despair. It's tough out here. The pressure is immense, but there's relief. Talk to somebody with BetterHelp. Online from the convenience of your own home. Take a quick online questionnaire and get matched up to a licensed therapist that's catered exactly to your needs. Find the bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/breakingpoint today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. HELP.com/breakingpoint. Thanks, guys.
And the New York episode, because I think actually we ended up really helping like all those people like move on from that situation. On
They
that
needed
episode.
that moment to let it all out, basically.
Like if it wasn't publicly, like we could have done it like in private, but like we let them. I think it was almost like therapeutic for them to kind of like talk through all that situation. Like, yeah, sometimes that's some really stupid things. Like I've talked to Javed about it afterwards. Like Javed shouldn't have like come in and said what he said, but like that was a great episode. We were able to sort of like guide it as a group to where it needed to go.
So do you like? Are you like?
But those are the best. Those are unstructured episodes. Those are not the episodes where we're just like breaking down a match. I love those. But like when we're able to just kind of shoot the breeze with like whoever comes on, just kind of go where it goes. Like that's the kind of content we always want to.
I mean, the drama always brings the eyes, bro.
It's not about that though. It's just I just think for me as a host and a co-host, like I just find that content the most fun to be a part of.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Not to cut you off, apologies, but like you know, the New York episode is flashy and it's drama and all that, but like it was a really good organic conversation, and we didn't like. I didn't sit down with 15 questions before that episode.
Right.
We were just rolling with the punches, trying. As an interviewer, I'm trying to figure out how to get the best out of them in their answers. But that's the best part of the show is like you never know who's going to come on, you never know what we're going to talk about, you never know who's going to be a guest. Like that's the quality of the show that like is key and center in our growth, and I want to make sure we never get away from that.
Yeah. Speaking on like some of the drama of this offseason and stuff too. You know, you have a new OpTic roster, a new FaZe roster. We have probably seen some of your takes on the flank, but I just wanted to see what you thought of the new OpTic roster and what you think that was going to happen with them.
You know, I've been pretty clear with OpTic that I'll look into this camera while I say that. it's like I'm doing a Sports Center segment.
Yeah.
Sports Center segment. My thing with OpTic is this: they've had some great teams over the years, great players, all-time Call of Duty players, but the OpTic, and I'm talking like the Frisco Hexquarters, even though the Hexquarters is closing now, camp, right, when they went to Huntsman and then OpTic Chicago, now here. Because I'm not talking about Empire, I'm not talking about OpTic LA. They have been pretty much, like at Champs, a non-factor since they won an IW.
Yeah.
Like, think through all the Champs since then. World War II didn't make it to the weekend. Black Ops 4 didn't make it to the weekend. Modern Warfare 2019, they were solid. But Huntsman wasn't beaten at the end of that year. They weren't beating Dallas or FaZe in a match online at that Champs.
Yeah.
Cold War didn't make it to the weekend, I believe, right?
Yeah, they didn't make it. They didn't close out the weekend, no.
Vanguard. You see where I'm going with this,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's been a lackluster end of the year performance when they should be all together at that point.
and I feel like that is sort of the goal with what they're doing here. Is like, I think we're bringing in Ken is like they have struggled now throughout all these years to get out of the valley of a team. Like when you get every team gets to a point where you're struggling. And the good teams, and this is why Atlanta FaZe, I think, will go down as one of the greatest teams of all time. What that camp is so good at doing is when they suck, they're really good at getting to an ability to not suck
Quickly.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, fairly
quickly. Like, see, Cold War is a great example. Like, they got dumpstered at Major 5. Well, you know what happened next event?
Yeah,
Is
slammed.
They slammed, and they battled with Toronto in that grand finals, but they end up winning champs.
Yeah.
I think OpTic's had that difficulty. Now, I'll give OpTic credit last year when the Scump retirement situation was going down, all the drama with their team stuff. They navigated that well and got to a good level with bringing in Kyler, with bringing in Dan, but it didn't net them in a win. They had a couple of seconds, and then they mega fell off at the end. Like, they were terrible at didn't win a map. We're getting smoked in scrims at Toronto. And then at Champs again this year, they were like,
Decent.
an afterthought. They were
Yeah,
decent, but
just
like,
whatever.
They weren't one of the teams making it deep.
So is this roster move? If you had to grade it, an A to an F, what would you? The move of AG and Ken, Pred and Ken, what would you rate that as from a grade rating?
The AG move is an A+. I think he's a centerpiece of their team for a long time. I think if him and Ant can figure out how to have the right chemistry as a sub duo on like how they exert pressure on the map, how they influence different lanes, how they play off each other.
Yeah.
Frontline pinches, communication. Like, they're a sub duo that will stack up there potentially with the Terrors with just long-term viability and consistency of results.
Yeah.
I like the Ken pickup because what the OpTic camp lacks is, I think, really good long-term problem solving and like really running practice effectively. I think OpTic has, for a number of years, been one of the worst teams when it comes to practice, whether they're chalking scrims, whether they're only playing on their own host.
Late to scrims,
Yeah. Like just having bad practice ethics. And I know they've talked about it. They've gotten a lot better at it this year. But I think Ken is going to come in and like be like zero tolerance about that shit.
Yeah, Ken is, you don't hear from him much, but he's a cerebral guy, and he's very straightforward with how he talks about things.
Ken has learned from the best on that. Like, he's learned from Crowder. He's learned from Austin.
Lamar
on like how to just like be like that kind of guy when it comes to practice. Practice is the most important part as a team. If you're not doing your practice correctly, like if you're not trying in practice, like you might win an event, you might get lucky, you pull up on a weekend and it's all frying, but like you're not going to be consistently good.
Right. I think the biggest X factor in that team to me is Brandon Dashy. I think Dashy has been a long time since any team he's been on has really won, which is an unfortunate thing considering how good of a talent he is. I think if he plays well this year, they will be a top 2 team. I think if he doesn't play well, they will falter and be the same thing again.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate though. But
so to answer your question about Ken, I think the Ken move is probably like an A-A. I think the time will really dictate on how that move is because Ken's coming in and is kind of going to play like third fiddle on that team. And so when you get in that situation, depending on your team system, either it's super hectic and you're going to play inconsistent because there's just chaos on the map and you're doing your best, or it's all going to fall into place and like he's going to be able to bring out the best qualities in him as a player.
Right.
So I think time will tell, and he'll also at some point get scapegoated by the fans because that's how it goes. I agree with you though. This team's successes and failures are like kind of Dashy's the biggest X factor in the team.
Yeah.
As it was with New York this year with I think like Priesta as to why they were really good. I think like when they're playing their best, it's going to be when like Brandon is able to be like impactful. I'm not talking about kills because Brandon get his kills.
He's gonna get kills every time, basically.
I'm saying
so.
as a teammate and like getting better every day and like being almost like a quasi secondary leader on this team. Like
Yeah.
I think that's super important. Otherwise, to your point, like yeah, they've got all this talent, but for OpTic, like being the fourth best team, the third best team in a year is like not good enough.
Yeah.
They've had that for 6 years now, and like if it happens again, like need to have a real conversation about like why is this group continuously failing at like, you know, yeah, you have a great head-to-head record of recent years against Atlanta FaZe, but you've won the same number of events as they have over 2 years. They've been to Champs Grand Finals more than you have.
And they have better average placings than you.
Way better average placings,
Yeah.
average money than you have. Like, would you rather take their situation or your situation?
Speaking on them too, I
Yeah.
mean, what about their Draza pickup? What's your rating on that? What's your grade on that? What's your thoughts?
So, the big things for FaZe this year is I love MC. You know, MC's my duo.
Yeah.
But MC's got this playstyle thing they need to figure out now where when he's got a sub in his hand, like he plays super fast. Like you've seen with him on the sub, like he's really good. But with the AR, and I don't know if it's them having him play this way or the way he wants to play, but him and Austin just have too similar of a play style on the map, and I think it was a huge problem last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you watch them play Control, I think it's a good reason why their Control was fucking terrible last year. They was great in Search. They were phenomenal because of in Search.
Yeah.
And once they figured out kind of how to play hardpoint, like they were really good.
Yeah.
His Control lost him that year. So I think putting MC in the right role, making sure that Simp is more comfortable because he had an off year, and I don't think that's an individual skill thing because of the AR issue. Like he was just stuck in this quasi weird hybrid role and was never able to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I think Draz coming in makes all the roles work. So I love the move. I love the intensity. They're going to still be like probably the best team in S&D in the league. I'm a little worried about their communication is the biggest thing because I've you know, if you watch Thieves play, like Draz isn't like a motor mouth. All the time.
He's energetic, but is he calling out everything? Not exactly. Yeah, he's very energetic on the map. He's definitely getting the kills he needs and making an impact. But is he the leader in terms of in-game leader? I wouldn't say so.
I think MC or Simp has to step up this year in their communication and be more of a leader presence in game. If they can do that and shot call well, like they will be another team that's making it to every Sunday for the most part.
That's a big claim.
Well, I mean, they were doing
How would you grade it though?
They were doing it in Cold War with Alec, and that was clearly an issue. They were doing it last year. But like whether or not they can convert that into like multiple event wins and a champs win remains to be seen. I like the move for draws. But if they can get over this communication thing, which I think is gonna be their biggest problem, like they will be the team that nobody ever wants to play. You know?
I mean, if those three I could be the fourth guy on the team, and people would still be like, "That's the team I don't want to play." I could be running a sub, an AR. I'd be running around with a knife, and you still wouldn't want to play that Atlanta FaZe team if I was playing the fourth guy on the controller. You know what I'm saying? They're that good. But I think with Draza, personally, with me, I think it's an A+ move. Personally, I think it's an A+ move. It solves a lot of their problems. I think having a guy come in that they all really fully believe in and his skill set is going to be really good, especially because sliding is back too. Draza's a demon. Snaking demon. It's all gonna work out, I think, in my mind perfectly. So, what are your individual plans for your full-time content, your future plans? Considering the flank is there, of course we know you from there, and a lot of people watch that. But for individually, what should we expect from Benjay on the? Are we getting putting streams? What are we getting?
So I've been trying to expand the individual content I do a little bit more. Like it's a variety stream. I've been doing those golf streams. That's been really fun. But I've been playing terrible, so I think I'm putting a lot of energy right now into sort of, as an executive producer of the flank, putting in a lot of time into improving that product.
Yeah.
I think one thing you'll start to see us do this year is experiment a little bit more about how we deploy the talent on the show. You may not see everybody on every episode because we do so much content anyway. Just trying to find the best combinations and when to have everybody on the show, when to only have some people on the show.
Depending on if it's a good match or bad matches, and it's kind of like that.
Yeah, you may see some episodes where we're doing some off COD stuff or interviews where it may just be me and Tommy.
Oh, okay.
But you might have some episodes where it's a banger match and we want to get the full talent lineup on. From my perspective, I don't know if every episode is going to have the full roster on it. So part of that is people have day jobs. Pat has got a video game that's coming out soon.
Yeah. Xdefiant.
And
Shout out.
then-
Yeah,
yeah,
shout out
shout
Pat.
out-
Check out
shout out
Xdefiant
Pat.
if you haven't checked out that game.
So like Friday episodes were always tough with him because like he's working, he's not really watching. But we love to have him on Sundays and Saturdays. So Tom and I have talked about like how do we work with Pat? Like he may miss a couple of episodes. He already misses the first day of matches anyway, live events. I would love to do more like challenger stuff. Like how do we start working that in a little bit more?
Yeah.
The watch parties we do for the elites are great. How do we kind of expand that more into the flank side with the platform? Tom loves doing tournaments. Like, how do we do more flank invitational tournaments? We did one last year. Trying to talk to Activision again about running another one. Kind of seeing what we can do. I'm trying to really spin up more like merchandise around the flank. People ask us all the time, like, can I get those lens shirts, the Flank World Tour shirts? We're working on it.
Yeah, I saw you guys were getting a lot of attention and people really a big interest in you guys' merch stuff. I forgot it was at the Dallas Major last year. You guys put out your first kind of like editions of things, and people were loving it. You guys definitely need to get that merch stuff going crazy. We had a collab I know recently with a statement of right.
Yeah.
How did that do? Did well?
As far as I've talked,
Why
to
aren't you wearing the
Tommy-
shirt? Hey, by the way, why aren't you wearing the shirt? Why aren't you repping? Wearing some goddamn
'cause
crocodile riding a
haven't gotten-
unicycle shirt.
I haven't gotten the merch yet.
Hey man, I don't know what company this is, but you're rocking the wrong merch right now, baby.
Lacoste Netflix.
Lacoste
collab.
Netflix. Shout out Lacoste Netflix.
Shout out
He's
Lacoste.
not wearing the flank stuff. What a dude. Nah, you're a hater of your own stuff right now, bro.
Bro. But real talk though, yeah, we're gonna have obviously that collab is really cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our feedback we've gotten from that is really nice that we're gonna use for future drops.
For sure.
Maybe with Dylan, I don't know, but we want to do what I would love to do with the flank this year. What I'm working on is getting more always available stuff out there.
Like essentials almost, right?
Yeah, we are going to talk to, I don't know what the schedule looks like for next season, but as soon as I know, we're going to talk to like most of the teams and be like, yo, do you want to collab on merch? Like all that stuff. And then one thing I would love to do is just like, there were catchphrases and things that we would say to start to like become memes on the show.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to turn around merch quickly. Like Pat did the blow it up thing.
Yeah.
Like I love what Barstool does. Like, on Part of My Take or on Dave's podcast, like a meme will start. They instantly have a show or like a piece of merch up like the next day or the day after for pre-order. Like I love to start expanding that so people can like support our show.
Yeah, and catch the wave as soon as it starts going.
Yeah, because we were just experimenting with merch this year. We were just like, we'll do these drops. Like we did the stuff at Dallas, but like I've that stuff takes a lot of planning.
Yeah,
like,
for
it's
sure.
not easy. Someone's got to do the art. We got to approve designs, deal with the logistics.
All while you guys are planning the shows and
Yeah.
Tommy's streaming and everything XYZ is happening.
But we also like it when it comes with having a storefront, which comes with having
A storefront?
online storefront.
Oh, I was
It
like,
comes with having like a landing, like a splash page for the show. Like so there's a lot of pieces that go into that whole
for sure.
strategy.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Twitter questions. I'm gonna say who they're from, and Ben is going to answer them exquisitely.
Hold up, I need to tell you something. Skip the stress of meal prepping with Factor. Choose from 35 plus weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never frozen meals that support a healthy lifestyle and are custom to your dietary preferences, all delivered right to your door and ready in less than 2 minutes. Head to factormeals.com/breaking50 and use code breaking50 to get 50% off. Once again, that's code breaking50 at factormeals.com/breaking50 to get 50% off. Thanks, guys.
From Asim.
Oh,
This comes straight from Asim. He says, how in the hell does he keep up with every sport in the book? Golf, soccer, football, basketball, tennis, pickleball, F1, you name it. Ben J. Nassim watches it. How do you keep up with everything? Is that all you do? All you do is watch sports?
no, I don't. I don't always. Okay, I watch a lot of sports. Let's be honest. I just grew up like watching SportsCenter all the time, and watching ESPN. So I've just been a big sports fan since I was like 8, 7. Like I think like pivotal moment watching the Yankees like '96 World Series, like stuff like that really grew my love for all things sports. And I just follow everything like baseball, both footballs.
What's your favorite sport?
Probably soccer to follow.
Wow.
It's just because it's all year round. Like there's really no dry periods of like football. Like
You can find some
Yeah.
league somewhere that's doing something.
if like European football is obviously like the best thing to follow, highest level.
yeah.
Like when that's not going on, you've got like You've got like the international games or summer tournaments going on.
Yeah.
Then you get friendly season. So like it really never stops, to be honest.
Okay. This is from NYXL Roosevelt. Start, bench, sell. Gershon, trick plays, or Nick Scotts?
So wait, what are the 3 options?
Start, bench, or sell. Gershon, trick plays, Nick Scotts.
Star, bench, or sell?
Who's your starting player?
I'm starting Nick.
Okay. Who are you benching?
I'm benching Jace, and I'm selling Gersh.
You're selling Gersh?
Yeah.
Nah. Hey, Gersh.
Nah.
Hey, bro. You're my starter. Don't worry, Gersh. Smooch, smooch, kiss, kiss. Gersh is my number 1. What is Ben's dream venue for a Call of Duty event?
Ooh, dream venue. If we're talking North America, probably like Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
Like MSG just hits. You know?
That would be insane.
It's
Yeah,
just like, I'm a
iconic.
sports fan. That's just the Mecca. Honestly, an event at the Sphere would go. Have you seen the pictures of like and the videos from the Sphere?
Oh, the Las Vegas Sphere?
Las Vegas?
Bro, it's insane. Having any type of like esports event inside of that would be so immersive.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But as far as like overseas stuff, like I'd love to do like an event in Japan. Love for like some event in like I really want to go to like Spain or Portugal.
They have
Be
such a
cool.
crazy esports scene
Yeah.
there. Everyone like I mean some of the biggest streamers are from there. Like that's how
Yeah.
much they love gaming.
So.
Okay. Here's a quick one. Does Ben like spicy food?
I like spicy food. I don't like super spicy food, but like
Would you do a 1-chip challenge with me? Oh,
yeah, screw it. Let's do it.
yeah?
Yeah.
You actually down?
I'm down.
You're not lying.
I would do it. Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about
one
off
chips
camera
are-
then.
The 1-chips are really. I know they're like crazy spicy though.
Yeah, the one this year is the hottest one ever.
Yeah.
So-
like
It's
like
gonna
you
be.
might need to give me a glass of milk, but like.
Oh, we'll have ice cream. We'll have everything there.
Like-
but I have a content idea, and I'll tell you off camera who's involved now. All right.
But I'm down. I'm down.
All right. This is from Greg, and he works for Esports Engine. Question for Ben. What did he learn working for an organization like Esports Engine versus being part of the scene with FaZe or the Flank? Compare the 2 types of environments within esports.
I think the biggest thing I learned from Esports Engine is, and this is really from Adam and the team around Adam, then why I think they were so good, you know, prior to getting bought by Activision and then starting out their own company. They're really good at problem solving. They're really good at being solutions oriented. And especially in the consulting business, they're so good at like not always assuming the client is right. Like I literally one of the first calls, I'll tell the story. One of the first calls when I joined Esports Engine, first call, it was a call with Adam. It was like our team and like the New York Subliners. And like Scott Wilpon was on the call. And they were talking about their ideas. I think it was for either their Overwatch event they ran that year at Hammerstein or the Call of Duty event that we were planning that obviously never happened because of COVID.
Right.
And they had an idea, and it was like a pretty mid idea. It wasn't a terrible idea, but like they could do better. And Adam immediately, like to someone like Scott, by the way, who's like, you know, very influential,
big guy, yeah.
big guy, like basically to his face being like, that's a good idea, but like, here's a better idea. A lot of people in the esports industry, I feel like, are just yes men, and they don't want to actually challenge people because they're too afraid to lose their position. Like learning from Adam, always being like able to be solutions oriented, even if it's not the solution that's being pitched to you,
Right.
is like going to get you places for sure.
Okay. How was the experience being bald?
It was
You
weird.
were actually
It was
mad
weird.
sexy being bald. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. You should.
It's
I think you
weird.
should consider the buzz cut. Going back to it, your hair's kind of short now, but that
yeah.
dude, the bald was. You were rocking
So
that shit.
that like first, so I think I told this story on stream. Like when I went back that night and like went to bed was weird. Like head on the pillow, no hair. The weirdest thing was waking up the next morning because I had to go back and do the watch party. And taking that first shower bald is so weird.
Really?
You're so used to like shampooing your hair,
Yeah.
like conditioning your hair, you know, repeating, and just feeling like nothing there.
But tell
except
me,
skin is just weird.
but tell me the shower didn't take 5 seconds.
Yeah, but I felt like my head was like drying. it just the sensations were just unnatural and weird. So yeah, I could maybe do it like super short, but I wouldn't get it like buzzed again.
Okay. Which pros of past or present, or which pro of past or present could you beat in a 1v1?
Past or present?
Or would you want to play in a 1v1? Call someone out either, or say you could beat them. I might have to set up a 1v1 in the offseason or during the season.
I don't know if I want to answer this question.
Come on, bro. Call one person? Anybody.
Imagine I beat Tommy in a 1v1. That'd be entertaining.
Dude, if you beat Tommy in a 1v1, I would flame Tommy for the rest of his life. No bullshit. I'd flame him for the rest of his life.
I think I'm gonna lose 99 of 100 times, but maybe that one time I get lucky.
All right, you're calling out Tommy for 1v1? We'll
Yeah.
make it happen. With you being someone who's never played Call of Duty at the highest level, how does it feel when professional players respond to your criticism by immediately discrediting you due to your lack of credentials?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That's real good.
That happens a lot. It happens like multiple times a year.
Yeah, it does.
I just don't care. I mean, because my thing is, even though people are professionals at a game, they may not know the best way to build teams or how to conduct themselves as a teammate. Or even like I've heard players discuss like how they think a game plays or their thought process on like how to play Team Call of Duty, and I'm like, that just isn't gonna work. Like, so I just ignore the criticism for the most part, and just kind of keep doing my thing. And I always tell like people that bring that up, like I'm happy to like have a conversation with you where I like explain my perspective, but I think it's such a weak insult. Like it's a Max Kellerman thing. Like it's just like come up with something better if you're trying to like swing at me.
Okay. Mary kill. Zuma eggs parasite.
I'm fucking Pat.
Jesus.
I'm fucking Pat. I'm Pat. I'm marrying Tom because he's my duo. And I'm sorry, Chris, but you're the one.
Yeah, he's got to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the Twitter questions for now. We're going to hop over to Reddit because we have basically 5 minutes to get through all these. So we're going to go and get this going. What do you think the lower tier teams in the CDL need to be more successful? It can't just be all about talent. There's still a lot of talented players that can be picked up. What is it?
Trying and practice. I've heard so many stories of teams that you knew were struggling last year, this year, the year before, 2019 MW, and most of those teams either had one or two players that just weren't giving 110% every day in practice. Like you look at the elite teams, Toronto and FaZe, I think are the two best examples because they've been good now for pretty much most of the CDL. Those teams have really good practice and work ethic.
Right.
A lot of other teams that are lower don't compete consistently. Like they have teammates that just don't know how to just give it its all every single day. And like if you're not doing that, you're not going to get better. If you're not going to get better, maybe you get lucky and win an event because you just fried on a weekend. Like LAG at Minnesota, they just got the right weekend, the right time. But most of the time, it's just not going to net in like any consistent kind of results or wins.
Okay. On the Reddit, how long have you had those stinky slippers?
Listen.
Come on, bro.
They're not. First off, they're not stinky. They're just Tom just making up. I probably buy those new pair of slivers. I probably buy a new pair like every half year. They don't really go bad. They only go bad if I'm a moron and I'm like, I'm gonna like walk outside and grab something, and then I introduce them to like the weather, which I shouldn't be doing. But they're not like It's just Tommy memeing on stream, bro.
Okay. Oh, so in reality, there's no truth to the stinkiness. Okay.
No, it's just cap, bro. Like it's just cap.
Okay. 2 more questions because I know you got to go. Of the rumored rosters, not including the Big Five, who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise winners?
Boston.
I agree.
I think Boston got really lucky this offseason that Austin landed in their plate. That's exactly the kind of player they lost when Zin left, like a veteran who's won that knows how to get there.
Yeah.
And Preston Priesta getting off of New York and being available and then bring him in, that's another player that knows how to win. They've gone from having like the least experience in the CDL to
literally like the most.
Having the most, and pairing that with, a player like Snoopy who's got massive potential potentially. Capsule massive potential. Like I could see that team hitting the ground early and being in there with the top 4, top 5 conversation and being a good team.
And just being gross, absolutely.
Which they were last year, the year before. Like they were always solidly a top 6 team. They were just they were never beating like they were always going to be at best the 3rd or 4th best team at an event. Like they make a single final.
Right.
They've made a grand final at all since they've been a franchise. I think with Austin and Priesta, they can definitely get there.
Last question. Ask Ben if he wants to be signed by FaZe. He's always working with them, but not actually signed. What's the situation?
I mean, listen, I love to join an org. No orgs have ever hit me up and been like, yo, let's join. And
Why don't you hit them up?
Yeah, my thing is like, I would do it. I just don't. I have a lot of ideas, and I don't want to go into a situation where I'm pitching ideas involving myself and they just steal the ideas and don't take me. Like, I don't want to give people like free licks at that, but like, I'd love to join FaZe. Like, I love to join OpTic or Thieves or whatever, but none of these orgs have ever like hit me up and been like, yo, like, let's talk like in a recruitment conversation.
I mean, it's esports winter, so I think once we kind of climb out of this,
yeah.
I feel like you'll be one of the top prospects because you're on the flank. Your streams do well. Your videos do well. You definitely have the behind the scenes production value for yourself as well. So you're just you're an absolute commodity that's just not picked up maybe because of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out there. I just like going. If I go to an org and pitch them, like I'm killing all my leverage. You know.
Yeah, I hear
Like
you.
it's way easier for them, or going to be way better for me personally if they come to me with ideas and we can collaborate on what that relationship looks like.
Yeah.
If I'm going to them and saying, "Here's my space," and like, "Here's my numbers," and I'm just being like lobbed on. Hopefully, I'm getting lucky. I'm getting lobbed on to some brand deal or jigsaw in some puzzle.
Yeah.
Instead of them actually trying to like come to me first with that idea.
Hey man, I know you got to go, so I'm gonna let you go. But thank you for the time. Thank you for being so candid during the interview about everything that happened, the drama. Looking forward for the game and see what your streams come and the new content ideas and the flank. I know you have some sick ass ideas for that. So looking forward to that. Any last message to your fans, the flank fans? What do you got to say?
Well, first, you and I should run this back. We should do like another episode, like
Not time crunched.
January or something, like before the first event or something like that, or after the second event. I don't know, and talk about the season. But like, I mean, I appreciate all the fans, flank fans, Benjamin Nassim fans, Zuma fans. Like, I didn't think in 2019 that like I would be doing full-time content. Thought I was continue to be a behind-the-scenes person. Like the growth, and this is basically on the community's end, has been insane. So like without you guys, I wouldn't be here. And I'm excited for the future, whatever it holds.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you for always being a real one. And yeah, the stuff in the next thing I'll talk about between you and I that you've helped me a lot with. We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
I know you got to get out of here. That's it, guys. Exclusive episode, I think 14 or 15 with Ben J. Nassim. That's it. Shout out FaZe Clan for letting me use this space. Thank you.